educators, welcome to EduTalk Collaborative Conversations, the show where passionate educators converge to talk about all things teaching. In every episode of EduTalk, we delve into an insightful educational research study and hear from a dynamic panel of educators who discuss the study and translate the findings into tangible tools for our everyday endeavors in education. I am your host, Jeni Langfeld, and I can't wait to share this episode's study with you and introduce you to today's panel of educators. Joining me on set today here at KPA Omaha Community Television. I'm thrilled that you're joining us today. You are an important part of this growing community of empowered educators. I believe that together we can transform education one conversation at a time. So without further ado, let's delve into today's topic. Dual language education is an approach that integrates instruction in two languages, aiming to develop bilingual proficiency, academic achievement, and cross-cultural understanding among students. Research demonstrates that dual language education supports English language learners in expanding their proficiency by offering substantial instructional time in their native language, which helps scaffold learning and ensures better comprehension and retention of academic content. Moreover, bilingual education fosters cognitive development as the mental exercise of juggling two languages enhances executive functions such as problem solving, multitasking, and memory. Additionally, dual language education benefits native English speakers by introducing them to a second language in a natural and meaningful context. Studies have consistently shown that this early and sustained exposure to bilingualism can lead to superior cognitive skills, including enhanced creativity and better understanding of complex linguistic structures. Beyond cognitive advantages, these programs cultivate cultural empathy and competence by exposing students to diverse perspectives and traditions, producing socially aware individuals who are better prepared for global citizenship. In today's globalized society, multilingualism is an incredibly valuable asset, and dual language education equips students with the linguistic and cultural tools necessary for success in the 21st century. Today's article, The Astounding Effectiveness of Dual Language Education for All, was authored by Virginia P. Collier and Wayne P. Thomas. The goal of their research was to study the different education services given to students from various language and cultural backgrounds in the U.S. public schools. They looked at how these services affected the students' performance on all of the tests that they took in both their first language, when available, and in English. The researchers' methodology, grounded in extensive program evaluation techniques, included both quantitative and qualitative data and was drawn from over 2 million student records across all U.S. regions. The researchers' biggest research site was the Houston Independent School District, where there were over 210,000 students. Of these students, 54% were Hispanic, 33% were African American, 10% were Euro American, and 75% qualified for free or reduced lunch. At the time, Houston had 56 dual language programs for grades K through 8, including both one-way and two-way programs. One-way programs are where only one language group is being educated through two languages, their first language and English, whereas two-way programs are where native English-speaking students join their bilingual and ELL peers in an integrated bilingual classroom. At the time of this study, Houston used the 90-10 model. This model starts with the most instruction in Spanish for the early grades and gradually increases English instruction to 50% by 5th grade. Reading started in Spanish, with English language arts added in 2nd grade. Students in this program did very well in both Spanish and English on national tests. Schools used for comparison were similar in terms of neighborhood and economic background. Native Spanish speakers in two-way dual language programs were at or above grade level in both languages from 1st to 5th grade. These students also showed high Spanish achievement, which helped their English performance. The researchers highlight a significant issue with the prevailing assumption for English language learners should achieve grade level proficiency in English within 3 years. According to their findings, this assumption is not rooted in empirical research, but rather stems from political expediency. Comprehensive studies indicate that ELLs typically require 6 to 8 years to attain grade level proficiency in their second language. And furthermore, the data demonstrates that only one-way and two-way dual language programs have managed to close the achievement gap in this time frame. So in conclusion, today's featured article explored the transformative impact of dual language education, highlighting its benefits for both English language learners and native English speaking students. Dual language programs integrate instruction in two languages, fostering bilingual proficiency, cognitive development, and cross-cultural understanding. Research shows that these programs enhance comprehension and retention for English language learners by providing substantial instructional time in their native language. Additionally, bilingual education improves executive functions such as problem solving and multitasking, and effectively introduces native English speakers to a second language. Up next, our panel of dynamic educators will discuss the implications that this study has on our everyday practices in education. Stay tuned, an insightful conversation awaits.
Please note that the opinions and views expressed by the host and panelists on this show are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of their employers or affiliated organizations.
Welcome back to EduTalk Collaborative Conversations. I am your host, Jenny, and I am so glad that you are joining us today. I have two amazing, phenomenal educational leaders sitting here with me today, and in just a minute, we're going to dig into a conversation about dual language and its amazing impact on students. But before we do that, I'm going to give them a few minutes to introduce themselves. And when they do, I just want you to think about your circle of colleagues got just a little bit bigger today. So first up, let's have Kelsey Oliver introduce yourself. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. So yes, Kelsey Oliver is my name, and I've been in education for 10 years now. This upcoming school year will be the 11th year.
Wow.
Prior to education, I was in business, so I had worked in banking.
Okay.
So after high school, I went to UNO, graduated with a business degree in financial markets and banking. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I was like, I would like to be a financial advisor. I want to be able to teach the principle, the very foundation levels of personal finance.
Okay.
And so it's interesting how when something is for you, it's going to make its way background to you. And that's kind of how it was with education. So after I graduated from UNO, I ended up traveling to a different country. I went to Mexico, learned the language, came back, and I was like, I don't think business is for me.
Yeah.
And so, but what I had experienced is I experienced a great opportunity to be able to dive more into the Spanish language, and had a great foundation, for that, and just continue on with that. And I started thinking to myself, well, in our Omaha community, we have so many people that are learning English and wanting to learn English from different countries that are here. And I was like, you know what? I had such a great experience being able to learn a second language. I want to be able to contribute and help back too. So again, I wanted to do financial teaching. However, it came back around to doing, working with children and multilingual students, starting off as a kindergarten teacher, working my way through different grade levels and having that experience, and then moving into my ESL position, which is what I do today. So I work as an ESL student or ESL teacher, working with EL students, and it's a great position. I love it, and my why for being in education is, again, wanting to make an impact, wanting to really help, the need of our community in any way that I could.
I love that. And of course I know your story, but it's been like, I had to be reminded of it. So I'm so glad that you shared that. But I often say some of the best teachers are the ones who were the struggling students.
Yes.
Because they experience what that feels like. So just to be reminded that you learned a second language, and now you help students learn a second language. Like you just have a whole different level than someone else who hasn't had that experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we have Susan with us today. Thanks for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
excited.
Thank you so much. Well, I've been in education far longer than 10 years. It's about 36. I've done education all my career. I have been at the secondary level teaching. I've taught at the elementary level. I was an administrator and I retired as an administrator
Yep.
from Omaha Public Schools. I then had an opportunity to go to the mayor's office. I worked in the mayor's office for a few years and had a great learning opportunity. It was exciting. And I was still able to do what I really love, is reach out into the community and support families. So then from there, I was recruited to go to the Buffett Early Childhood Institute. So I learned a lot dealing with higher education and working with people at the university, and still working, supporting schools and students and families. But my new opportunity now, I am in a new position. I am actually the executive director of Saxena Academy, a private school, elementary school, that is currently today non-existent.
Yep.
We're looking for a site in South Omaha.
Okay.
And planning on building a K-8 private school, giving students and families another opportunity, another choice.
Yes.
So I'm very much an educator. I've had the opportunity to be public, private, public and Catholic schools too. So now I'm kind of diving into the private world, and this is going to be my last thing. This will be my last thing. And I think my why is I had a wonderful mom who was a paraprofessional for Omaha Public Schools, and education was always very important in our family. And I think I like to help people and develop people, and so that's my top strength, is a developer and a strengths finder. It always has been.
Okay.
So I need to leave the community that I grew up in better than when I grew up, and so that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah, your heart and passion for the community has always shone through so brightly in every role that I've ever seen you in. With talking with parents at Spring Lake Elementary, to coming to my classes and speak to students. It's just your thing. Okay, and I just learned about Saxena just a few weeks ago, and I'm so excited. There's something about starting something new.
Right, yeah.
That is just
super exciting.
thrilling. Yeah. And I love a K-8 building. I just do.
Yep. Fewer transitions for families and students.
Okay, love that. Okay, I'm sure that'll come up again, maybe. Okay, all right, so we're gonna dive into our conversation. So Kelsey, you have experience as a general education teacher, and now you're serving in an ESL role. What strategies have you found most effective in promoting multiliteracy among your students? Just about that.
So one of the strategies that I have witnessed that I've used is being able to create a classroom environment with rich text. So when a student comes into the classroom, the only text that they see shouldn't just be the text that we're using in our ELA block or in our social studies text. You know, I want to be able to have it to where I have had it to where I have like the alphabet line, word walls. I'm a huge fan of anchor charts. So when you come in my room, you're going to see a lot of anchor charts. And it's the same thing on the EL side too. And so for one example, I would say that I have had when I've created an anchor chart is creating an anchor chart where I have cognates. So for example, if I know that I have a significant amount of students in my class who are of the Spanish background, if we are, learning a certain vocabulary, if I can create if I could find what the cognates are and then say, oh, okay, and then pair them up with the English vocabulary, that creates a connection for them, and also a reference for them too as well, And so that's one thing that, also go along the lines with biliteracy. And then also being able to, on the ESL side, so in my EL classroom, which is what I do currently, I have been during the school year, is if I'm talking about like time, for an example. So I have, this past school year, I've had a lot of newcomers, and a lot of newcomers for different Spanish-speaking countries. And so one topic that we had talked about was time. And so on the anchor chart that I created, I would say, I would write in one color, what time is it? And then in Spanish, ¿qué hora es? And then I'm able to then put the responses. So then that way they're able to make the connection.
Yes. What a gift.
Because I feel like without that connection, and I'm just going with, okay, this is like actual time, and they may not necessarily understand it, but when they know what I'm talking about in their language, and then they can connect that knowledge, that background knowledge, to what they're acquiring through the English language, I feel like it makes a greater impact.
And it maximizes what they bring to the classroom and what they know, and you're just building on that from there.
Absolutely, because they do bring a lot. They have a lot of knowledge that they bring. It's not just, okay, they have a blank slate, there's nothing on it. No, they come with so much knowledge, and it's nice to pull on that.
I love that. Thank you. Okay, so Susan, drawing on your experience as a very long time building leader, how do dual language education programs impact long-term academic achievement for students?
Being at Spring Lake, we only went up to the 4th grade.
Okay.
And so oftentimes we really didn't see that light bulb go on for our English language learners. And I really noticed it when kids would maybe go to Mars, which was the next school, or even when they went into high school, it was they were just on fire because they really had a great command, oftentimes, of both languages. Especially, our dual children really did. And, but it impacts so many subjects. It's just great for your brain. It's wonderful for your brain to have 2 languages. And, your brain, it's like a muscle. So you are building those synapses. Is that what it is? And so it really helps with other academic and even non-academic art and, other courses. So it just really helps students overall in the academic world. And like I said, sometimes maybe it's 3rd grade, but, a child really isn't really able to really grasp the language in 2 years or 3. It's a long time because you get that social language, but it's that academic language that is critical in school.
Yeah, and the article mentioned about how we just assume, we say 3 years they should be proficient, but it really is more like the article says 6 to 8. Is that your?
Well, I had learned 5 to 7, but when I read the article and it said 6 to 8, I'm thinking, that might even be a lot closer. And so, as I said, that's why a lot of times we didn't see some of our students who were were actually struggling to learn the language. We didn't see that light bulb go off. It was oftentimes the middle school teachers and the high school teachers that really saw them.
Right. That makes sense. And 3rd grade is such a big year, even if you are learning one language where it switches from being able to read to being able to or learn to read to then you're now reading to learn. So when you have 2 languages that you're learning at the same time, I could see how that easily bumps it to middle school.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Kelsey. Okay, so one of the things the article did delve into is it's not just the academics and the cognitive benefits, but there's also the socio-cultural and linguistic processes involved. And so can you just share some specific instances from your teaching where you've observed that in your classroom?
Yeah, I feel like just from what I witnessed, when it comes to the academic, the cognitive, the social, cultural, and the linguistic, when you step into a classroom, you should see all 4 of those elements working.
Right. Amen.
And it's right. And it's really exciting to see. And so focusing on the social, cultural part first, one of the things that we incorporate in a gen ed classroom, even in a dual language classroom, or even as in a small group, an ESL room, is that we're able to incorporate collaborative conversations, collaborative discussions. I love those.
Me too.
A lot of my students are like, okay, turn this off. We're like, oh. But in the end, they see how beneficial it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because the students are able to bring their own background knowledge. It allows students, and it doesn't necessarily need to focus on okay, because I have a cultural difference from someone else, obviously I'm going to have a different response, but also just with someone has been exposed to, you know, or their background knowledge on this particular topic. You know, so I think that is really helpful when it comes to really bringing different ideas to the forefronts of conversations for our students, and being able to see that not only one way to view something is correct, but being able to see that. And I feel like in the dual language classroom, when you have those collaborative conversations, that's why the academics are so, or even just talking about closing the academic gap is so effective, because they're able to pull on each other's knowledge, which is really great to see. And then the linguistic part, language, being able to hear someone speak the language, being able to actually then use and produce the language.
Learning is social, so being intentional about that cooperative learning is powerful. Okay, now this is one of my favorite questions. So what are some professional development initiatives that you recommend to enhance teachers' effectiveness, either in dual language settings or just general education classrooms?
Well, I think it is so important to know the students that you are serving. And I know oftentimes, you know, over the course of the years that I've been in education, I've seen that shift. It's about really getting to know the students, getting to know their background. If they're not in your community, learn about them. And if they're not of your culture, learn about it, because it's, like you said, they bring so much to the table. And there's so many similarities. And it's about creating a community in a school, in a classroom, in a school, and honoring everyone's culture. So I think that that is a key, and that's something that's very easy. And I think that that was probably the piece that I was able to take to Spring Lake. You know, it's about knowing the community that you're in. And knowing the community you serve. That is a key PD. And it's not your typical professional development. I think along with that, it's, you know, it's about culture, but it's also about knowing what's happening in dual language and with English language learners, and, you know, knowing the latest research. So it's learning new strategies and sharing amongst one another in your school community.
Teachers should have collaborative learning groups, just like we set up for our kids, but long gone are the days where I'm a teacher and I'm going to show up and I have information to give you. It's about that community you're talking about, for sure. Okay, Kelsey. Okay, given your interest and experience with multilingualism, how do you perceive its impact on students' overall academic achievement? Anything resonate with you as you were reading the article?
A lot resonated with me. I enjoyed reading the article, by the way. And so to start off the response for this question, I just wanted to mention, you know, the topic of first language acquisition and second language acquisition.
I love that.
So I feel like that's a really good topic to kind of start off with this one.
For sure.
Because, you know, we think about first language acquisition, which is how we learn our first language. You know, it's a natural process, right? You know, I have a 2-year-old and she's learning how to speak and she's imitating, you know, and that's, you know, a part of that natural process, imitating what you see. And there's a whole bunch of other things. And so then second language comes in, you know, and so then we think about, okay, there's a big talk about, okay, is second language, is that acquired or is that learned? And so, or is it a little bit of both? And just pulling on my experience as being a second language learner, it is a little bit of both. You know, you do learn from the textbook, but you can't just rely on the textbook. When you're able to actually go into the culture experience, because language is more than just words, it's the culture as well. And being able to be a part of that, being able to speak with natives, you know, and really hear how it sounds. You know, I feel like it really helps it to become a natural process, that second language acquisition. And so I feel like the same thing also goes along the lines with dual language. I feel like the format of the program and the reason why it's so successful and why you see such high academics, you know, through the students who are in those programs is because they make it a very natural process. And being able to teach just the coursework, the different subjects, and being able to teach those in the Spanish language, and then moving on, let's say half day, if it's a 50-50 type of thing, you know, moving into the English language and not having, you know, any type of support where you have to, you know, but then you have some students, you know, let's say we have a student who is of a Spanish speaking background who can help someone who isn't, you know, and vice versa when they get on the English side. So there's a lot of support, and that's why I'm a firm believer in primary language can definitely support second language acquisition.
Which is what you are clearly using in your classroom to support your students.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Susan, last question here. Okay, considering your new venture with Saxena Academy, what lessons from your own experience and existing research are you going to incorporate into the development of your new program?
Well, I think definitely creating community.
Yes.
That is so key. Getting to know our students, honoring their culture and what they bring, honoring their family. We as educators are not only inviting our students in, but we're inviting their families, and we're working together to create success for their students. So that's kind of what I want to continue.
Oh, I cannot wait to walk into the hallways of this building. And
I'll make sure you're invited.
Yay, yay, yay. But really, that community will be a tangible thing. And I often say that I feel like the way we, in the public school sector, we say that we partner with parents, but really, or we invite parents to partner with us. But I think the better thing is that, no, we are partnering with them. They are the leaders of their family and the head teachers of their children.
Yes,
They're the
first
first
teachers,
teachers.
absolutely.
So we're not asking them to come over here. No, we are aligning ourselves with them. And I just feel like that elevates their role. It puts them in the right place. So, okay, so we're going to transition really quickly. As you look towards the future of education, what are you most excited about or looking forward to?
Well, I'll go. I think I'm very excited about doing things differently.
Yay.
You know, our classrooms are, I think we're at a time where changes are occurring. And it's not about just memorizing things. It's about learning things and learning to be a successful person in our world. And that really means a lot. So I think it's about how education is changing and doing things differently. And I'm excited about that, and I look forward to maybe doing things differently at our school.
Me too, super excited. And I hope that invites others who are watching to try something different, do it different. Okay, Kelsey, what are you excited about?
You know, and mine definitely goes along lines with Sue's too, because I feel like I'm excited about just the development of education and how it's changing, and then how, I mean, because even if you think about like in 2019,
Right.
you know, when the pandemic, you know, certainly came, and just all the different changes that came about, you know, with teachers then having to teach remote, you know, remotely, and then, you know, using Teams and all these other different platforms to still, you know, educate our children, you know. And even though I know a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, you know, this is different, this is new, especially like our seasoned teachers who've been teaching for a long time and never really had to use a lot of technology, that was a big change, you know, but I feel like it also brought a lot of good too as well. So I'm excited for the development of how education is going to continue to grow, and even if it comes in a wave that is challenging, like how the pandemic created, something good is going to come out of that.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We're winding down our conversation, but really the conversation is just getting started. We would love to hear your perspective on this topic, and I hope to see you next time, because I believe we can change education one conversation at a time.